Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Daily Drinkers Podcast. My name is Rocky. Tonight, I am drinking a ginger beer with hibiscus and vodka. Poor man's Moscow Mule.
As a poor man's Moscow Mule. I again have a Guinness coffee.
Oh, shocker. Marbles has a Guinness Nitro.
Mm.
Would have never
Ah,
guessed that in
delicious.
500 years.
And I also have a truly wild berry as a backup in case I drink all this before we're done.
I had a couple of those in the fridge.
All right. Well,
It's actually, it's actually daylight in both of our backgrounds. This is weird.
yeah, because it's early. Because we're started early.
Because we just got tired of waiting on our friends that never show up anyway, so
Hmm
why not get to it sooner than later?
Why not just start now? Um, don't want to delete that. Yeah. So, anyways, I took today off, and tomorrow, because I felt like I needed a break because I hadn't taken days off in like over a year.
Jesus.
So, um, I mean, obviously, besides getting weekends off, but then when you get weekends off, you're just busy doing all the
All the stuff
things
you
you
need to be
can't
doing.
do during the week. So you're just busy anyways. So I took a couple days off because it was slow for me, and I thought, you know what, I'll take a break and uh, try to relax. And instead, today I did a bunch of errands. So maybe tomorrow I can relax for a little bit, but I also have to go help a friend build a computer tomorrow. So
Shenanigans. You don't need to build no computers. California's outlawing them, so you don't need a computer anymore.
sure.
It's what I read on the news, so it must be true.
Yeah, I was reading that, and it stems from some like principle that the power draw of, I guess, technology or computers is increasing at a certain rate. It's like doubling or tripling every so many years, and it would actually outpace the world's global power production after
The
so many years.
what?
Yeah, so like the article I read had a graph and was explaining that like the part of the reason behind California banning certain they're not banning computers. They're basically setting like a limit for how much power a laptop or whatever desktop can consume. Like at a certain rate. And some of like Dell's like Alienware gaming computers draw more power than the new standards. It's the same thing for like car carbon emissions, to where California has like a stricter standard for how much a car can emit. So
Yeah, that
Dell's
doesn't.
like so Dell's like we're not going to sell these specific models. It's like two or three models to California because of that power standard. But in the article they were saying that the power standard comes from like the world's computers, and I guess other technologies combined would outpace the global supply of power. So like the world generates power at like a consistent rate, but computers are like doubling or tripling their power consumption every so many years.
The
So at a certain point, it's going to actually computers are going to absorb more
demand is
power
going to
than
be
what the world actually produces if trends keep going. So I guess that's one of and plus, if you're drawing more power on the grid, then you're contributing to climate change and stuff, because power plants and other ones are having to work harder to provide that much energy.
which is something the EV crowd for vehicles don't understand. Yes, it's better for the environment for the short term, but you're demanding more power at home. You're demanding more mines from all the materials that are going to be needed for lithium.
Yeah,
Now we're running into a potential lithium shortage to where they're trying to convert seawater and pull lithium out of seawater.
which you could. It's just expensive right now.
Yeah.
They're also trying to invent batteries that don't require lithium,
Mm-hmm.
which I think would be a much better sustainable thing if batteries actually didn't require lithium. It'd be
until they
better for
blow
the
up
environment.
mysteriously.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not one thing. There's another. It's another.
We're all gonna die in 10 years. No, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
But I don't think there's a harm in trying to figure out a better solution than what we're doing now.
COVID Omega will be out by then.
Hmm.
We're gonna
So,
need 92 shots a year.
yep. We'll all just live in bubbles in space.
I'm down. Let's go. And find some space mermaids.
Imagine the stories of freaking people like going through uh I mean I wouldn't say deep space, but like traveling between like here and Mars or here and other places, and the stories they're gonna make up that are gonna closely resemble like old sea stories when people didn't know what was on the other side of the ocean.
Back in my
And
day,
they're like, yeah, there's things like mermaids and sunken cities and like all these other crazy things. And you know that once people start actually like companies start sending crews out to like mine asteroids or whatever, they're gonna start making up all kinds of like giant monsters in space that they saw that almost took down their ship.
apologies if I seem distracted tonight. The Lakers just landed Russell Westbrook in a massive trade.
Cool.
So there is a lot of nonsense going on right now. And it keeps shutting down my apps. So high five to the Lakers. Welcome to season number 18 championship next year.
How many
Assuming they can get some
is that?
shooters.
How many championships they have?
They're tied right now with Boston.
Oh, okay.
With let's see,
Who has the most championships?
the Lakers and Boston have 16, 17.
Each?
Yeah, 17. They're tied with Boston for 17 championships each.
And when did the championships start?
I don't know, but the Boston and the Lakers pretty much have half, if not more, than the world championships.
No, not the Olympics. NBA championships.
There's been
Because
74
so there's been 74
of
championships.
those.
And what's 17 plus 17?
34. The Lakers and Celtics account for 34 of the 74 championships.
That's a lot.
So in 75 years, there's only been 40 years where it wasn't a
They've
Laker
they've
or a
won
Celtic.
they've won what? That's like more than half? About half.
It's just shy of
Just
half.
shy of half.
It would need
So
to be
two
37.
teams have won almost half of the
Mm-hmm.
basketball championships ever. Man, there's a lot of teams on here that have 0 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Oh, speaking of teams, what about the Guardians?
So I don't
Too bad we
understand
don't
how
have
that
Dink
works.
Dink on here.
I don't understand how hockey works with their expansion team. Like, basically, they'll allow you to draft out of active players, but each team can protect what, five, six players?
Yeah, I don't know
How
what
does
the
that
rule
work?
is. I think instead of polling, because a lot of those teams have players that are like in the minors that they can pull from. So I think the idea is they basically create a new team with active players, partial active players, so allow players I guess to make trades and move around if they want. And then I'm assuming that if to fill any empty spots that a team loses, they probably just pull from the minors and just
Interesting.
bring people up. I think that's what they do. I'm not entirely sure though.
So it seems like they're popping off expansion teams like 1 to 2 a year right now.
Yeah, well, it started with the Golden Knights
Golden
in
Knights.
Vegas,
And then they just kept winning everything.
Yeah, they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup in like their first season. So, but again, it was also made, the team was made up of a bunch of experienced players that I guess other teams were okay getting rid of. So you took a hodgepodge of players that have years of experience under their belt, and not surprising they did well. Um, so it's not a huge deal. Yeah, but yeah, they have now what, like Seattle I think has a team now, and there might be another one. I don't remember. I haven't been
I
keeping up
I don't follow them enough
with
to
sports
know.
expansions. Let's see. Hockey expansion teams.
Back in the NHL was in its pre-league days.
Oh, this is long time ago.
You see
Um,
what happened was
6 teams were added in 1967. That made it 12. 50 years later, there were 31 teams. Um, yeah, so in 2000, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Minnesota Wild joined. Um, oh, that's another funny thing is, okay, there's there was a team called the Winnipeg Jets. In 1996, they became the Arizona Coyotes.
okay.
So now they're the Coyotes. In 1999, the Atlanta Thrashers became the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I've seen that happen multiple times because it's
So,
happened in
so one team
football.
changed names, moved countries. I mean, moved out of Winnipeg and went to the states. And then another team that was in the states took on the previous team's name, but they're not the same.
Ha- Happens in football.
Yeah, so stuff like that's really weird. Um, but I guess yeah, the Golden Knights were added in 2016. Um, this article might be old because they're talking about future stuff. Um,
Future stuff that's already happened.
well, some of it's like there's other locations being cited as having potential for a team, including like Cincinnati, Cleveland, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Hamilton, Ontario, Hartford, Houston, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Portland, Quebec City, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
They're also probably talking about Steve Yzerman getting ready to retire too.
Yeah, probably.
Shout out to those who know that Red Wing legend. He's only like
um,
56 or 57 by now, but
I guess the only one that's been added after the Vegas was Seattle Kraken was added this year. So Seattle has a team. Um,
Steve Yzerman, 56 years old. Shocker.
well, that's like the one woman from uh at the Olympics, the gymnast from like Uzbekistan. She is retiring this year, and she's 46.
Jesus.
She's been at I think 8 Olympics. She's been at the Olympics since 1992.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so she has a record for the female gymnast with the most like Olympic, you know, showings, I guess.
hmm You know what Olympians do every year at the Olympics, so
Every four
she's also
years.
probably has that record too, if you
Yeah,
know what I
probably.
mean.
Um, but I'm like, that's crazy that you're that age and you're still doing like you still enjoy doing it, doing your profession, being a gymnast, which is really hard. Um, and that's awesome. Um, but I don't know. I haven't actually watched any Olympic stuff yet.
Me neither.
I've been too
Don't really
busy.
care. Also, don't have live TV anymore, so
Yeah, you do.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
Nope. Google changed its terms, homie. So because I'm not in the zip code, I'm too far away. It won't let me watch TV.
That shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it does though.
Hmm. I have to.
Apparently, I'm too far out of
I'll have
range
to.
because I tried to
I'll
figure
have
that out.
to figure that out then, because that's.
So I went to go watch Google or YouTube TV, and it was like, "Sorry, you are too far out of the zip code."
Do you have? Oh, maybe. Do you have in your Google account? Do you have like your home address set to like here, like where you live now? Because it might think that you're like logging in, like someone else is logging into your account. Because it
I
shouldn't.
don't even
It
know
shouldn't
what
matter.
I'm registered in my
It shouldn't
Google
matter
account.
where you live. Because I'm adding you to like the family group and I pay for that, so it shouldn't matter where you live. But
Oh, I might need you to help me with that because I wouldn't even begin to know where to look up
because you
that
could
stuff.
in your Google
At.
account you can set like what your address is, and so if it thinks that you're still a resident of like California, it's like no, you're not the right person. I don't know, maybe. I'm only saying that because I think my sister was able to use it and she was in like Northern California and she was
I was
using I
able
think
to
her own
use it
account.
until I got back from California. When I came
Um,
back from California, it said, "Sorry,
does are you using it on anything other than your phone? Like on one of
I
your
only had
streaming
it on my
sticks?
Xbox."
Hmm. Yeah, maybe it's just Google doesn't know where the heck you actually are. So yeah, I can help you fix that. Ugh, man.
Let's see if I can do this right now.
You just go into like Google account settings or whatever.
Let's be serious. I'm not coordinated enough for this.
Um,
YouTube TV. There we go.
I was able to play. I never finished it with Dead Space 1, so I finished that on PC this week, and then well, actually, I finished it like over the weekend, I think, and then I started Dead Space 2 and played that all the way through, and now I gotta start and play through Dead Space 3 again.
Which one did we play through? Two or three?
3, because that one had co-op.
I just remember that stupid shotgun assault rifle combo.
Yeah, I thought 3 was fun. Some people have complaints about it compared to the first two, because I think 3 is probably a little more actiony, especially since there's two people, versus 1 and 2, which is just like a horror game because you're by yourself and it's pretty dark.
And the air vents pop out and kill you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I had forgotten some of the story, so I wanted to replay it uh, because EA had announced that they're remaking Dead Space 1.
Remaking number one.
They're remaking number 1. And number 1 like is a lot rougher in when you're actually playing it because I think number 1 came out in like 2008. So like the controls are just not as they're a little clunkier and I don't know, it just doesn't feel as responsive as like 2 or 3. Where they definitely refined it. So they said that they're in the video I saw from the developers at Motive, they were taking all the original assets, like starting with all like the original game. They were updating all brand new assets to, like higher resolution and stuff. Um, I guess fixing any mechanics where it makes sense to fix it because the game is kind of dated. Uh, and I think they might be changing the story elements a little bit. And they also said they want to add content that was originally removed from before the game shipped originally. They said that there's actually like maps and codes and stuff that looked like the developers were going in one direction, and then because for whatever reason they decided to scrap it. It could have been for time, or it could have been technological reasons why they like got rid of some stuff, but they left like the framework of the code and some asset stuff there. So they said they're gonna try to like re-add stuff that was originally planned for the game, and then they're also going to there's another thing they were gonna do that. Oh, they were gonna try to include more references to things that are in the second and third game,
All right. And
like
kind of tie everything together.
tie things together more um, to the games that came after it. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'll definitely play it again, and 4K with ray tracing and all that stuff. It'd be great. The game would look amazing. I just realized my camera is reversed for some reason.
On your screen, my
Yeah,
screen's
my
the same.
okay, mine. No, maybe it
Your
was the
door's over your right shoulder.
yeah.
Yeah, it always is.
Okay, because looking at me, it looks like it's backwards. It looks mirrored. It might be mirrored.
Maybe it's mirrored.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with it because looking at it, my mic should be on this side of my face, not that side. So I don't know.
It's the same setup I always see. On your left side is the reflection of the desk with
Yeah,
Baby
the
Yoda. On the
mirror.
right side is your door.
Yeah.
Same as every week.
Okay, then I don't know. I must be going crazy. Uh, I don't know. I think it's mirrored.
You are going crazy.
Um,
I might go crazy
I
tomorrow.
don't.
Who
Maybe
knows?
it's mirrored. Maybe it's mirrored for just me. Yeah, that might be what it is. I think my feed is mirrored. Oh well. Um, but yeah, I just noticed that. So I'm replaying the whole Dead Space series again, and then wait probably 2 years before the remake comes out because I don't think they're anywhere near done making it.
I thought like their original developers had split, but some had come back on board. And
The company that made it originally, which I think was Visceral, was bought out and then like dissolved. So that's what happened to it. So I don't know if EA owned Visceral at the time, but or I don't know what the deal was. I just remember reading that what happened to Visceral was they were along with like a lot of other companies were bought by EA or uh, I think Microsoft, some of them, or Activision. A lot of companies were bought and then like just dissolved and then like killed off. So
that's
they
strange.
own the IPs, but the company that originally made it is like gone. So that's what happened for Dead Space is they got bought out and then the company was like dissolved. And so yeah, there was just no one whoever owned it, which EA owns it, owns the IP, decided just over the years not to make anything of it until now. But because they're
Capital.
doing a remake, um, because it's not a remaster. It's like a full remake of the game, like a reboot. And because of that, um, there's a lot of speculation that they're probably gonna make like Dead Space 4 or something. That they're doing this to like test to see, I guess, what the interest would be, and then make a fourth game. So I think they said that they wanted to also include maybe some of the zero G stuff that was in like 2 and 3. Probably 2, because I think 2 had more of it than maybe 3 did, but where you can actually fly around. Um, because in the first game there wasn't any of that. The first game, when you entered a zero G area, you could walk on different like on the ceiling kind of stuff, and then like jump between points and walk, but you couldn't just like free fly around. And they introduced that in 2. So I think that they want to introduce that into the number one remake because it's just a mechanic that people liked. Um, so I thought that's kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of games that just disappeared um, because the company that made it just disappeared. Like, do you remember
Jeez.
Army of Two? Like, no one ever made
Yep.
anything of that. That'd be a really fun like reboot now. Um, with the tech and stuff we have, it'd be cool to like remaster, reboot that series. But I think the company that made that one is gone too. So,
Gotta learn how to drink. I just spilled it all over myself.
eh. We wouldn't be called the Daily Drinkers podcast if we didn't spill drinks on ourselves.
I'm so excited about all this trade news going down right now.
Uh, you and Dink are the sports people and Method, not me.
I got video game news. I got a buddy in town from California. Well, he lives in California. He lives in Georgia now. He's in Austin, so I'm gonna go meet up with him tomorrow for dinner.
Cool.
I go to Salt Lake.
A good one? Oh yeah, we didn't go to Salt Lake when I was there, did we?
No, yeah, we did. It's the place we went to with Ryan, and we met that Michaela's other friend.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good. Um, I need to I need to go out there again. Um, what's a good time of year to go?
Not summer, any other
That's
time.
I mean, yeah, that's why I figured not summer, but even when we went in like fall, it was like hot and humid.
Well, I mean, so far this summer, this is the first week I've actually felt summer where it was over 100.
Oh.
From April through 2 weeks ago, it was pouring rain. So
Well, yeah, it just rained
no,
all the time, right?
nobody really knows
Like
what's happening.
unheard of rain.
Yeah. And then depending on the winter, winter's not bad. It just gets really cold, and then we had that stupid frost for a week where it was just snowing outside. So,
Yeah.
but by this winter, I'll have at least my all-wheel drive car, so shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking like a change of scenery would be nice. Go
Well, I
somewhere
might be
else,
coming
eat some
back out
stuff.
that way, depending on what's going on now with my grandpa.
That's right. Yeah, you have to let me know when you're coming out here for that.
Oh, we'll be
Um,
drinking every day at that point.
a good thing I have a lot of liquor.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been in the I don't know, I just haven't been in the mood for like liquor. It's much easier to sip on like a Truly or a beer, late at night, like playing video games and stuff, than it is to like make a drink.
And I've been only making drinks lately, so I went from the mixers, from like beers to hard ciders. To now I got that whiskey that I had last week. I just been straight sipping that, or I got this hibiscus beer for the wannabe Moscow mules.
Mm,
A little light and refreshing, but I don't know. The hibiscus is like a strong florally taste.
no, no.
So yeah, you almost have to make like a poor man's margarita with vodka, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that probably makes more sense. Um, yeah, no, I got lots of alcohol. I got some of that brandy, the apple brandy.
Oh, was it oh yeah, it was
It was
apple.
apple brandy, and it's from like this small farm in like somewhere in Michigan. And my mom was out there, and they took that road trip. Um, and they brought it back. I don't know. It's like 120 proof or something, 100 and something. And uh, what's the other alcohol? It's like ethanol that you
Then
put like in cars and stuff.
yeah, ethanol.
Ethanol, right? It kind of it's kind of like that with like a fruity flavor. It's tastes the way that smells. If that makes sense. Um,
which does not sound good at all.
it evaporates. It's not bad. It's just very strong, and it like you know that warm feeling you get when you have like whiskey by itself is when you just take like whiskey straight and you get the, like, that warm feeling in your chest. You get that, but it's like more intense and it lasts a lot longer. um, so it's it's not great to drink if it's like if you're really hot because it just makes you hotter. But luckily I got the air conditioner fixed, so it's nice and 72 degrees in here.
Only 72
Only
degrees.
72. Yeah, I don't like it that cold, to be honest. I like it just kind of. I like it to be more unnoticeable. Although some of the rooms feel colder than that. Um, but it turned out that because like it started on Sunday, we had no like the air just was on, but there was no cold air coming out of the vents. So I put in like a ticket for the apartment to fix it, and then Monday comes around, and I call and ask like, hey, no one ever came by because usually they're pretty on top of it. You put in a ticket, and like maybe a few hours later, someone will actually be by to like fix it. And so I put it in the morning on Sunday and didn't get anything all day Sunday. And so Monday came around, it was like 10 in the morning, and I'm like, no one's come by yet, and no one has like messaged saying that they were going to come by, because that's what they did the last couple times we put in an order. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna come by in a bit or whatever.
We'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and usually they would. I mean, you could see them driving around like on golf carts, the maintenance guys like going all over to different calls or whatever. And so I called the front office and they're like, "Oh, sorry about that." They're like, "There was no one. We only had one guy yesterday on Sunday, and so they're kind of behind because we only had one person." And he goes, "And we only have one person today." He's like, "Oh, let me check on that." And then he put me on hold, and then came back like a minute later. He's like, "Actually, I don't have any maintenance guys today, so they'll probably get to it tomorrow." So Sunday we had no air. It was like it got to like 82 or something in the living room, and me and my girlfriend are working in the spare room together with three laptops and a desktop running. Um, and so it was definitely higher than 82 in here. And so we had the fan
Hmm.
going to try to cool us down. So that was like all day Monday and all day Sunday. It was hot too. And she's like, we need to get it fixed because it's going to be in the 90s all week. Um, and we're on the second floor, so heat rises. So all the heat from downstairs is going to come into our place. And we're on the corner that faces like the sun.
Mm-hmm. So it
So
just beats
so
in
we have
all
like three
afternoon.
windows that just are three walls that just get baked in sun all day until the sun goes down over the hill. And there's no trees on that side, so it's not like we get shade either. Um, so Tuesday comes around, and about 9 o'clock, two maintenance guys show up, knock on the door, and they say, "Oh, you put in a ticket for the air conditioner?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not like cold air's not coming out." And he's like, "Okay." They check the wall, like whatever piece that is. I think it's the part where it sucks air in from the apartment, and then goes up through the ducts, and I guess goes to the unit outside, and then cycles back. They checked that to make sure all those connections were fine, and then they went outside, and the guy came back in. He goes, he goes, it's full of ice. Um, he's like, and I can't check what the freon level is because there's too much ice. That's what's blocking the air. So I need it to melt a bit. So I need to turn the air off because we had it on just to see because it would cool for like an hour and then the air would stop. So he's like, I need to turn it off, and then I'll come back in a couple hours and check it.
And
And
you're
so I'm
like,
like,
no, don't leave me.
okay.
No.
So it was like 76, right? He comes back a couple hours later, and it's now like 80, 80 degrees. And again, this is like 11 in the morning. And he comes back and he goes, okay. He goes, you're low on Freon. So he goes, I put more in there. He goes, that should fix it. And he turned the air on, and then he went to the different rooms with a laser thermometer and checked the air coming out. He goes, the air coming out is 53 degrees. He's like, so he's like, it's working. And I asked if there was any leaks. He's like, no, I didn't see any leaks. He goes, there's no like oil or anything in there. He goes, I think it just needed more Freon in the system. And then I had Googled it when I was waiting, and apparently, like, if the cooling part of the unit obviously gets, really cold. That's its job. The Freon is supposed to pass the cool, like cycle the cool and hot air around and exchange it.
Hmm.
But if there isn't enough to do that, then the unit will just like freeze. Like the air in there will just freeze and turn into ice, which will block the air pressure and
Yeah, because
it
it's just cold air getting colder,
just getting colder and colder
and
and
it
colder.
causes the pipes to freeze
Yeah, and
over.
the pipe will literally freeze. And so I guess that's what was happening was there wasn't enough Freon to push the cold air and hot air around to move it. So it would just freeze over, it would get clogged, and then cold air would stop coming out of the air conditioner. So he put more in there. He's like, okay, that should fix it. And now we have like really cold air.
And now you're enjoying life.
And now I'm finally enjoying it. I'm not sweating, sitting at my desk trying to work. So I'm like, great, that's fixed. Um, but I was because my mom and my sister were over 2 weekends ago, and it got hot with the air on, and it was like 83, 84, and it just wouldn't get any colder.
That's the worst because then it's
And
just that stuffy, warm feeling.
yeah, and we can feel cool air coming out, but it wasn't enough, and it just would not cool the apartment. And there's only like 5 people in here, and I'm like, that shouldn't be enough to like not cool it. And I think that maybe was the reason why, is it was probably starting to freeze over, but not enough. So some air would get through, but not a normal amount, and so it wasn't enough to actually cool the apartment down. Now it actually gets cold enough, and the unit actually shuts off because it hits the temperature that it's supposed to. Um, whereas before, like it wouldn't go down until it got late enough at night. Then the temperature would start to lower on the thermostat.
Yeah, no, I would not survive out here in Texas with AC that was not working. It's already miserable enough at work, just going back and forth. It's been a muggy 100 before you factor in the heat wave. So it's like 107, 108 with the actual temperature. You walk outside and it hits you. Like when you fart so bad, like the smell just like punches you in the face.
Yeah,
It's like
and
that, but it's hot air, and you're just like, ugh,
yeah,
ugh.
no, I know what that is. Um, yeah, uh, that reminds me, it actually rained in the morning here on Sunday or Monday morning. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, Texas has been raining for like days, and then California's like, yeah, the water levels are at like historic lows, and like LA County might have to start rationing at some point if
Mm-hmm.
if it keeps going. And then it's just like rained one morning. And then you open the door
Maybe.
and it's like 78 degrees and like wet. So
Ah,
it's just super humid and
so it's
gross.
Texas,
And
Texas
you're like,
rain. Got
"Oh
it.
God, like yeah, we needed the water, but it didn't cool anything down. It's still hot now."
That was the worst. It was like 85, pitch black sky, downpour rain, 30-mile-an-hour winds out here. And I was like, what is this? Like
Yeah.
in California, when it would rain, it would be like 60, 65,
Yeah, it would cool it down.
and it's just kind of miserable all day. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of gross, but at least it's cooler.
And Texas, it's like, hey, bright and sunny. Boom, it's black as night. It can be outside.
Yeah.
Pouring down rain, 900-mile-per-hour wind. Rain's going sideways like this. And then 30 minutes later, boom, nice and sunny. All the ground is dry. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then an hour later, it's another storm.
Yeah. That's the kind of like on and off weather that I experienced when I went to Iceland that one summer. Where it was like I think my mom asked people like why don't they have umbrellas? So like, oh yeah, it's too windy, like they'll just get blown away. Um and it will rain and like it'll start and stop raining every like 15 minutes when we were there. So it was like, what's the point of carrying an umbrella around when it's gonna rain for like a few minutes in like high wind, and then stop.
That's just so
so,
random.
so they're like, yeah, we don't need umbrellas. Like they don't even sell them there, because it's useless. Because the again, like it was so windy that the rain would just come in sideways, so an umbrella was pointless. Plus, it would just break because it would catch the wind and fold backwards on itself. So I mean, it was a weird place there. Like it was raining on and off. It was summer, so the sun never went down. It just kind of circled around. And there was people out there like sun tanning in like in the street, like with their shirts off and stuff. Like there was a guy who I guess owned a barber shop or whatever, and he was just in a chair outside when it was probably like 60 degrees or maybe even a little colder, shirtless, just sitting there getting sun.
That's weird.
And I'm like, I'm like, what are they doing? Um, yeah, it was strange, but the weather that was like the weirdest weather I've ever experienced. It's just not something that we have here very often. I mean, you probably got the closest to that with the constant rain, but it was also really hot for you, which over there it's cold and windy because you're up there in the North Atlantic. Um, but I would like some actual rain. That'd be nice. I really wonder because they say like because of climate change, we'll experience more extreme like weather events.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to be a trend that right now places are hitting like extreme heat. So I wonder if it's gonna swing the other way and have like extreme winters. Like if California is gonna get snow one year or something.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well,
Like
like,
if it just gets super cold one week and like rains at the same time, and now we got snow in Southern California.
was it Pakistan or India where they found out they can use drones to do electronic shocks into the sky, and they basically pulled forth like a flood in their town.
Yeah, you could do well. I mean, the U.S. has been doing that for decades. It's called like cloud
Yes.
seeding. You basically you could use drones or you could use other like devices that shoot like little I don't know what the stuff's made of, but they're like these little particulates that allow water to like collect and basically turn it into like raindrops and cause like moisture to form. Causes like clouds to form.
Let's see if I can look up this article real
And it's
quick.
the closest thing we
It's
get to like controlling the weather.
it's Dubai using laser drones to shock rainwater out of the sky.
Okay, yeah, Dubai's in the Middle East, and they do not have a lot of water, or at least a lot of like rainwater. Um, but yeah, that's probably one method you could do it. All you have to do is get the moisture in the air to condense. So if you can get it to condense by making it stick to something and turn into raindrops, then you could do it that way. Or if they're shocking the air, then they're probably doing something on the atomic level by moving electrons around or whatever that's causing the air to
Mm-hmm.
get denser. Um, but there's probably a offset by doing that, um, by forcing like the moisture to like condense and drop at a specific spot is probably going to have an effect down the line to where that moisture was intended to go.
Supposed to go.
That moisture was traveling somewhere per the Earth's cycles, and now you've like released it early before it got to its destination. So I don't know.
So why we should probably just stop it. Just stop it when it comes to
It's
nature. Just let
probably
nature do
yeah.
its thing.
It's probably not a good idea to be getting involved that way. Yeah, but people are gonna do whatever they want, right? I mean, they're gonna build
Shenanigans.
islands in the middle of the ocean, or like in Dubai, they're gonna build islands out there and build like homes and stuff on like palm tree shaped islands that they made. Um, which I don't know. I feel like the upkeep for something like that is maybe more work than it's worth. Because if an island wasn't created in a place naturally, that means that area is not conducive to an island. So
Mm-hmm.
if you drudge up a bunch of dirt and pile it into an island, I feel like that section of water is going to be like, there shouldn't be an island here, and I'm just going to keep pushing on it until it's gone.
Oh, whoops.
And
Now
one
your
day
island.
it's going to just flood.
Now it's
Um,
just a or that or it breaks loose and stays afloat. And
yeah. So I don't know. Like I feel like doing stuff like that's probably not the best idea. Or you're going to spend a ton of money and time trying to constantly keep it from collapsing. Um,
well worth the risk in my book.
I mean, a lot of people do things that shouldn't be done. I mean, people built
Like
those. People did not maintain those that apartment complex in Miami, in Florida. Look what happened. So, um, I don't know. I think that stuff is. I mean, the Earth has a history of constantly trying to balance itself and rebalance itself, whether through like natural like phenomena like heatings and coolings and things like that, or like plant life and animals taking over and controlling the ecosystem. um so I feel like the more you screw it up, the more it's just going to naturally try to like compensate, which is like what global warming is, right? It's just the earth compensating for the changes that are being affected to it.
and hey guys, you are making me have a fever right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and melt everything.
Yeah, I'm just gonna melt everything. If that doesn't work, I'll freeze it. Then we'll have another ice age. I love it when like politicians, when it was like there was that cold snap in like the Northeast and like up through the South. What would they call it? The when that giant like cold wave went up from like Florida all the way up to like New England, like a year or two ago, like probably 2 years ago. And it was like super cold in the Northeast. Politicians were like, "See, like it's cold. Global warming's not a thing." And people are like, "Yeah, that's called weather." Weather is hot and cold, like it changes. But the actual like temperature of the planet as a whole is going up.
All the water is going up.
The water, the ice is melting. That's not a good thing. Just because it's cold in one place doesn't mean that it's not a problem. Um, yeah. So I don't
Do as
know.
I say, not as I do. Pay no attention to these guys that pay me millions of dollars to say this is fine.
Yeah. Um, no, I don't know, man. I'm hoping there's no fires around here this year.
Well, we'll find out in October when it's fire season.
Yeah. I mean, there's already a big one in somewhere else out in the middle of nowhere in California. That's burned a bunch. And then, oh, did I send you that article that PG&E is gonna bury like 10,000 miles of wires?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think they're tired of being sued for for like tons of deaths.
But why more companies don't do that is beyond me.
I
Because there's
mean,
a lot of places in Texas that have buried lines.
yeah, it makes sense. It's the problem why they don't bury lines is one, they say because of earthquakes can cause damage to the buried lines, and California obviously is more prone to earthquakes. But um, honestly, I don't think it's that big of a problem. I think the biggest problem is it costs way more money to bury a line than it is to just build a tower. Because to
Less
build,
upkeep though.
huh?
Less upkeep. You don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
no,
car
there's
accidents.
more upfront cost but less maintenance. And I think it's the upfront cost that they don't want to spend on, and also they don't want to spend on maintenance.
Mhm.
so so they just don't do either. Problem solved. Um, and then when a tree hits a power line and causes a bushfire that's like hundreds of acres or thousands of acres and burns an entire town to the ground and kills almost 100 people, then they realize like, oh, we should probably just bury them. It's gonna cost us money, but we won't have to worry about it after that for the most part, unless something big happens. But even then, like if you damage a line underground, I don't think it's likely that it's going to start a fire. It's just you're going to lose power somewhere, which is the
Yeah.
same thing if it's above ground and you lose power, except that instance you have the chance of a fire. So if the people are going to lose power because of a damaged line, why add a forest fire on top of it? Especially if you're not going to maintain it. If you're not going to like clear brush and if you're not going to do all the things you need to do to prevent it, then like just bury it. Then you don't have to worry about it, which I guess they realize that they just need to do, so they're going to start doing that. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how your guys' power company does what they do.
Well, because we have 500 power companies. That's why.
Yeah, but I mean your grid is completely separate from the rest of the country.
Yeah, and we supply power to like three other states, which doesn't make any sense either. But it is what it is. We're Texas. We don't need rules.
Um, yeah. Um, who needs rules when you can just set your thermostat to like 80 degrees? Was there an outrage by people when was it ERCOT said like, "Hey, turn your thermostat up to like uncomfortable levels to save power."
Yeah, we said ha 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 ha
Because
ha ha.
I can't imagine like being asked to do that and the same team be like, "Then what am I paying you for?"
That's kind of how it went. And then
um,
Facebook was like, ha 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 ha. How about you go ahead and upgrade your infrastructure for the money that we paid you, like you said you were?
yeah, yeah. How
And then
about
they said,
you
ha
guys
ha
are
ha ha.
you guys are a non-profit, so what are you doing with the extra money?
Hence why it was just a big ha 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 circle.
um, yeah, no, I hate crap like that. Same with insurance companies. It's like
Don't get me started on insurance companies. They are the biggest scam of
it
everything.
is. And it's like I pay you every month a lot of money, and then the second I need to like need it for something, you're like, ah, I can only cover some of it.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead
And
and replace your car.
you're gonna have to pay it on top. You're gonna have to pay, a deductible or copay or co-insurance on top of what you pay us every month because we're not gonna
And
cover
not
that.
not only that, if it's a car, we're gonna go ahead and replace those parts since it's obviously not new now. It's a used car. We got to go get some used parts put in there, even though it's remotely not safe at all. We
Yeah.
just don't want to spend the money to fix it right.
Yep. Yeah, insurance companies are fucking terrible. Health insurance, car insurance.
Health insurance is the biggest scam because as much as you don't
Health
need it,
insurance
you
is
need it.
yeah. And when you need the insurance company's like, nah, we don't have to pay that. It's like, then what am I
Second
paying
thought.
you for?
So out of that $1,700,000 that you owe, we paid $6. So good
Yeah,
luck.
you pay the rest. It's like, but I paid you like $400 a month It's like, nah, we got shareholders to give it to and stuff.
That's to say, yes, you do have insurance. It would have been $2 million if you didn't have it. So all these made up numbers, look at how much money we're saving.
It is all made up numbers because like my mom has pointed out a lot that like if you go to the ER and they give you Tylenol, it's like $50 or something for a stupid pill,
It's mhm.
but or whatever the hospital charges for it. But then you go to like CVS and buy it for like $5 or something, a bottle of like the exact.
$17 will get me
Yeah,
a 500 milligram tablet in a bottle of like 150.
yeah. But then the hospital gives you one, and they're like, oh, it's gonna be $20.
Well, you had to pay for the nurse that gave it to you, and then the doctor prescribed it to you. So
Yeah, I mean that's the way they maneuvered around, but that's not what they actually pay because no
no,
one would go into the because you don't see any poor doctors in those hospitals. Um, I mean, being a doctor is one of those professions where it's expected that like, oh, you make lots of money. Same with
yeah,
lawyers, like
Doctor
you make good
Marbles.
money. Yeah,
Yes, Doctor Marbles.
so I don't.
Continue on
That's
your
why I don't put doctors.
hypocritical path.
So I don't put doctor in my name. I'm not that kind of doctor. uh, but
Oh, so
I'm
you're
a
like Dr. Dre.
yeah, I'm a terrible doctor. If we're looking at it from a strictly medical sense, yes, I'm a terrible doctor. Do not take my medical advice. Um, but no, I think like that's where like the whole single payer like if we're already paying taxes, we might as well get that out of it too, because it would cost us less. In the long run, it would cost us less.
Hmm.
People like to throw out like was it like $3 trillion over the next like 10 years or something? It's like cool, but how much would you save not paying for insurance?
Yeah, you already pay stupid amounts of money insurance each month, anyways, for
Anyways,
privatize, and it doesn't get you anything.
no, it doesn't get you anything. You would pay less in taxes than you do in insurance currently.
Hmm.
And you would see this is the thing where I've already figured it out how to do it. What you do is people point to the VA and say, "Well, the government doesn't know how to take care of people." Look at the VA. VA is a bad example. Well, yeah, VA is a government-run hospitals. That's what they are. You could eliminate the VA. If you just gave healthcare to everybody, then the VA doesn't need to exist, right?
Everything's the VA at that point.
Everything is the okay in a way, yeah, everything's the VA, but at the same time, you don't make you keep all the hospital infrastructure we have. You
Yeah,
just make the government the what's the biller the billee, and instead of the you go to whatever doctor you want, whatever specialist you want, whatever dentist or whatever you want, and they bill the government at like set rates.
but that's where the biggest crackdown would come from,
For what?
because in a free market, you can make up whatever rates you want. On a privatized market, you have to agree to set terms, and now you can't have these exorbitant amounts of money.
Well,
Because if you
yeah.
look into who owns some of the biggest hospitals, you'd be surprised at how many religions are tied to it and use it as a tax-free
Oh, yeah.
haven.
They do. Um,
St. Jude being one of them.
yeah. So, I mean, but the government has the power to just change that. I mean, Canada did, the UK did, like Germany did, a bunch of other countries
23 out of the 24
largest,
most advanced
yeah,
nations
figured it
did
out.
it.
And yeah, they have their problems. I'm not, but you're supposed to look at that and say, we won't do that thing, then it's a problem. We'll go around that. Like
Well,
they're
now we got to learn the metric system. So
yeah, which doctors already use, so it doesn't matter to them. But I mean, part of the reason why prices are so high is because like pharmaceutical companies can charge whatever they want for anything. And that's what they're charging hospitals. So hospitals could save money by paying lower rates to buy the drugs or the equipment or all that stuff the way the other countries put limits on how much drugs cost. If you set a limit like, hey, you can only charge, X amount percent above the cost it is to make the thing, and we're going to do an audit to verify that what you say the cost is actually the cost. And you can make X amount above that as profit, and then the hospitals, pay a set amount, like this is how much it's going to cost for this drug, for Tylenol or whatever. Then that would bring costs down. Everyone would be paying less, and the companies producing this stuff would still make profit. It wouldn't be the same amount of like 600%, 1700% profit that they make now,
Oh, well, then I don't know if I could take that cut, man.
but I mean, it can be done. You can eliminate the VA, right? That's a cost that you can completely eliminate. Allow veterans to go to whoever doctor they want, whatever hospital they want, whatever urgent care they want. You can keep all of the private doctors and stuff as is. And instead of them billing an insurance company, they just bill the government. That's it. Then you would pay taxes, but the taxes would be way less than what you're paying insurance companies because the government's not making a profit off of it. Whereas insurance companies are private businesses. Their goal is to make a profit, not provide health care.
Yeah.
So you could eliminate so many different things. Everything would cost less and everyone would somehow be taken care of. It's completely
That's
doable.
that's
It's just
logic.
not it's just not going to happen.
We just don't do that around here. That's silly talk.
It's just not going to happen. But it's doable. Just no one wants to do it because you won't be as rich.
Exactly. And I need to be rich.
So then people start shouting, communism. It's like, well, if Cuba, being under an embargo for the last like 60 years, can still provide health care for everyone, then I think it's possible for the richest nation in the world to do it. Just saying. I don't know. I don't know. If everyone else could figure it out, I don't see why we should be the laughing stock of the first world as the only country that can't figure something like that out. And plus, you don't have to get rid of insurance companies. You could leave insurance companies, and you could still buy your own supplemental insurance. What if you want cosmetic surgery or a bunch of other, procedures done? You could buy insurance to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think basic like emergency room, primary physician, some specialists, I think that could be paid for by everybody and everyone would benefit from it. We already pay the government in healthcare costs already pays more under a privatized network than all the other socialist countries do combined.
That's crazy.
You think of all the uninsured people that go to the hospital, who pays that? Taxpayers. How do they pay it? Through the government. The government reimburses the hospitals for all the uninsured people who go there. So we're already paying it. We're just not reaping any benefits. And then on top of it, we pay for insurance ourselves. Isn't that like asinine that we do
That
that? And then no one seems to think there's a problem? Dude,
that's
I just had to get a
that's
freaking X-ray. You know how difficult it was? There's like 3 places I went to. They're like, "Oh yeah, this isn't covered by insurance," or "This isn't covered by your insurance." And then the insurance company obviously doesn't make it easy for me to look up, like, okay, I need to go get an X-ray. This is the insurance I have. Where can I go? And of course, the website's like, do you want to sign up for insurance? Like, no, I don't. I want to find where I could go to get a damn X-ray.
you want to sign up for X-rays, add on to your insurance? Okay.
It's like I can go to this other place and pay like $340 out of pocket to get an X-ray. But why am I going to do that if I pay almost $400 a month to my insurance company? But they won't tell me where I can go to get an X-ray.
For an extra $35 a month, we'll tell you where you can use your insurance at.
Yeah. Eventually, I had a call, and then the lady was really nice, and she had to look up and send me a list of places that they cover under my insurance plan um, to get an X-ray. And I thought, like, if we just had universal healthcare, I can just go anywhere. But I don't.
If I was independently wealthy, I could just go anywhere.
Yeah, if I'm willing to spend $300-$400 out of pocket to get an X-ray.
Hiccup.
Mhm. That one's really carbonated. I don't know. Ugh.
I don't understand
There,
it.
there we go. I solved three-quarters of our country's problems.
So next week, what challenges are we going to tackle?
we're gonna tackle immigration,
Immigration and food.
immigration reform, and food. We're gonna
Because our
solve we're gonna
immigrants
solve
are
world hunger,
because immigrants pick our food. So they obviously go hand in hand.
hmm especially if you live where I live in California. um, yeah,
You're welcome,
no.
America. We are here for
Industrial
you.
farming's a whole nother subject. I have thoughts on that too. Um, I don't know. Then maybe the following week we'll fix um, mental health care.
No, I'm not
and
even going to touch that topic.
and why Reagan shut down all the psychiatric hospitals.
Because Xanax, that's why.
Yeah. Well, we're about the end of this week's episode.
And I'm at the end of my drink.
You're at the end of your drink. I'm at the end of this drink.
And I'm still spilling it on myself. So
Well, we'll see if
we might
anybody
have
else.
a guest next week. I would bet Brit, maybe Meth. Dink is still 2 weeks out.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll try to work with both of them to see if there's a day that they're both available. Because having four people makes this a
A
whole
lot more
lot
fun.
easier.
Because then we don't have to tackle the world's problems.
No, we can just talk about stupid, useless bullshit.
And that's what makes this podcast amazing.
Okay, well,
Good night, everyone.
good night, everybody. Bye.